All right, some of you guys have asked me to react to some more videos, and I was sent this video, and this one is particularly special for me because the doctor being interviewed is a Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Now, Dr. Joel Fuhrman is a proponent of a plant-based diet. He calls himself a nutritarian. He's about nutrient density. On Mark Bell's podcast a few years ago, he actually asked that I would be thrown in jail because I disagree with his prescribed diet. Anyway, let's see what Dr. Fuhrman here has to say about the supposed reasons why you should not do a carnivore diet.
So I sit down and I go Google like research on carnivore diet, research on high protein, research on keto.
Right.
And there is so little research. I was shocked.
The host, and I'm not sure who this girl is, she did a Google search and could not find much research on specific high protein keto and carnivore diets. Well, I will just a cursory look at the literature, particularly on ketogenic diets. There are estimates of nearly 5,000 studies have been done now on ketogenic diets alone. So there is a plethora of data out there. And so this girl just is ignorant. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I looked at one single study. So they had about 1,800 people left of self-reported short-term benefits. Nothing has been conclusively or even studied for long-term benefits of high-protein diets or of carnivore diets,
I assume she's trying to interpret a study that was done at Harvard University in 2021 looking at 2029. The range of duration was between 6 months and 28 years. She's calling that short-term results. I have a hard time, saying that these are just short-term results when you have people that have been doing this for many, many, many years included in that study. Now, yes, it is a self-reported study and there are limitations there, but to chalk this up as just short-term benefits is just disingenuous.
They're looking at short-term research where it lowers cholesterol, they drop their body weight. The short-term studies may show some benefits, but now we finally have long-term studies. And to be a carnivore or keto advocate, you have to have some illogical rationalization as why you're going to disregard 100 long-term studies that show danger.
And let me just point out that the reality is there are no high-quality long-term studies on any diet. You just cannot do those. These are unethical to do to people. They will never be done. Anybody spouting data is using extremely weak data. The other thing is, who are the people that choose to go on ketogenic diets? Typically, it's a person that is already sick, a person that has already developed obesity and has probably already developed some level of organ damage or systemic disease. So you're already pre-screening and pre-selecting out an unhealthy population to follow them. The other thing is, most of these studies will collect data at very infrequent data points, maybe once in 20 years or 3 times over 20 years. It is just not good science.
I was interviewed by and debated this guy, Saladino, who was one of the founders of the carnivore diet. Just was recently interviewed some months ago, and he's off the carnivore diet himself. He's doing fruit with meat now.
Okay, and he also references Paul Saladino. This is a bit of a problem because we see people coming from medical school that have no interest in actually treating patients. They just go from medical school directly into YouTube, social media influencer. I'm not going to blame somebody for doing that, because at this point, after 20 years in practice, I basically do that now, but you should be required to at least practice for some period of time. I know that's kind of controversial, but anyway, that's just an aside thought on some of this stuff.
It means more propensity to kidney stones. It means more kidney damage, but it also means more aging of the cartilage and joints. These people, even though they're big weightlifters and doing all this, they think they're keeping their muscles strong. They become old, in pain.
As an orthopedic surgeon, as someone who spent decades treating musculoskeletal pain, inflammation, arthritis, tendonitis, and so on and so forth, I have not ever seen anything as effective as a carnivore diet for mitigating and improving osteoarthritic pain, tendonitis, and so on and so forth. So whatever he is making claims upon, completely at odds with what the reality is and the reality that I see on a daily basis. He's talking basically total nonsense at this point.
Forestalling aging is to try to work on keeping your muscle to fat ratio favorable as you age with this attention to diet, which I think is a fun hobby, to maintain your youthful vitality as you age.
All right, so he has a little discussion on the benefits of exercise and aging, which, by the way, I 100% agree with. Regardless of your choice of diet, it's one of the biggest discriminators between those people that age well and those people that age poorly are those people that regularly engage in exercise are going to generally age better.
When you're on these keto diets with carbohydrates restricted, you raise IGF-1 into cancer-promoting levels. So extra protein, even though it may promote a little more muscle mass, extra animal protein promotes IGF-1.
Again, when people start going down these mechanistic routes, that is a very, very incomplete picture. Cancer undoubtedly involves a number of different moving parts, perhaps hundreds, if not thousands of them. Recent studies that show that particularly red meat not associated with increasing risk of cancer. In fact, the large one was just published a few days ago. This is just a talking point of these plant-based people that use what they intend, which they inconclusive science.
And then it also changes the bacteria in the gut, promotes this thing TMAO formation, which is trimethylamine oxide, which is a pro-inflammatory substance that ages us and promotes atherosclerosis.
TMA, which is trimethylamine, is produced in the gut, and this is a precursor for TMAO, which is the oxidized form of TMA, which is produced in the liver. We see an elevation of TMAO in a couple situations. One, if someone has gut dysbiosis, and so we know that the TMA is produced in the gut, and so when we have a dysbiotic gut, and we also know if we have failing kidneys, dysbiotic gut, failing kidneys, and we associate those folks with heart disease, and then we say everybody that has that is in the same boat, because there are people on a carnivore diet that will have higher TMAO levels. And so how do we separate TMAO that's elevated due to dysbiotic gut and kidney disease versus TMAO that's elevated from consuming what I would consider healthy products? We haven't done that yet. We don't know how to do that. And so again, this is one of those sort of things. It's a loose association. It's not been stratified by any kind of nuance here. So again, this is just another ideologic talking point.
And then this high diet high in meat is deficient. It's deficient in vitamin C, it's deficient in folate, it's deficient in vitamin E, it's deficient in phytochemicals, it's deficient in magnesium, it's deficient. Their diet's deficient, it's producing too much acidity, it's aging their joints, it's promoting cancer, and it's just absolute craziness, and people love to follow it.
You guys watch some of my other videos, you know that meat actually has phytonutrients. Cows eat plants, the phytonutrients are incorporated into their tissue. We consume that, and we still consume those phytonutrients. But as far as the deficiencies are coming up, as I pointed out many, many times, we are just not seeing a significant signal of people developing deficiencies on a carnivore diet, not to any significant degree and not to any significant frequency. And if it were the case, you would expect to see massive, massive peoples developing all kinds of deficiency problems, either acutely or chronically. And we just don't really see that to any significant degree. This represents ideologue that has no clinical experience. His solution is, of course, eat what he recommends you eat, which is a high fiber, plant-based diet, basically. The reality is many people have already done his diet or a version of his diet prior to trying a carnivore diet. And his version of the diet was a disaster for many of them.
But here's a study from 2023. Low carbohydrate diets, low fat diets, and mortality in middle-aged and older people. 166,000 deaths with people on keto diets, 28% more likely to die of any cause.
This is a single study that is contradicted by multiple other studies. There was a study recently came out of Australia a couple of years ago showing that every country in the world that eats more meat lives longer. So you can find all kinds of these epidemiologic studies that support whatever bias you want to. I certainly have listed those just to show that they're out there. What I've said over and over again is let's focus on getting sick people healthy. Then don't worry about preaching to them about what they're going to eat to make them live longer, because you just don't know. Dr. Furman doesn't know. David Sinclair doesn't know. Peter Attia doesn't know. I don't know. And so those people that pretend they have some sort of expertise or knowledge of that are basically making it up. All right, so if you are suffering from illness and you need a physician or a clinical team that will support you in that understands some of the newest nuances around nutrition, so that you don't get a Dr. Joel Furman or the equivalent out there that's just going to tell you, hey, you shouldn't be eating meat or you should be on a low-fat diet or something like that. Our folks at Revero get it. We have an entire clinical team that's dedicating to supporting you every single day, every single step of the way until you get healthy. And that's what it's about. It's not about pretending we know what's going to make you live to 120 or 150. If you've got a bunch of money to burn, go pay one of these longevity gurus to get you that. But if you're looking to get healthy, if you've got metabolic disease, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, autoimmune conditions, inflammatory conditions, check out what we have to offer at Revero. The patients are really, really seeing tremendous improvements, and I'm super proud and super happy to be part of that. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Take care. Let me know if you want me to do more of these reaction type videos.